The story I'm about to tell you is the most horrifying betrayal between father and child in human history. Because in this story, a father served his own children as dinner to his guests. In 238 AD, in Rome, history's most horrifying feast took place. But the dishes at this feast weren't ordinary food. The main course was the emperor's own children. Right now you're thinking, this is impossible, no father could do such a thing. But this is just the beginning, because this emperor didn't just kill his children, he fed them to his closest friends. This man's name was Maximinus Thrax, one of the most ruthless rulers of the Roman Empire, and he didn't hesitate to sacrifice his own children to preserve his throne. But here's the most terrifying part. While his children were being eaten, Maximinus sat at the table watching. And he even asked, "How does the meal taste?" That night, when the guests learned the truth, they went mad with horror. Because they hadn't just eaten child flesh, they had also consumed the children of their own friend. If you're wondering, how can a human become such a monster? Listen to this story to the end. Because the truths you're about to learn will change all your thoughts about fatherhood. And most frightening of all, this story didn't just stay in the past. Today, too, there are fathers who sacrifice their children for power. Gaius Julius Verus. Maximinus was born in 173 in Thrace. That's why he was known by the nickname Thrax, the Thracian. His father was a poor peasant, his mother a woman from a barbarian tribe. Maximinus's childhood was filled with hardship. His father never loved him. "You are my shame," he would say. "You will never be a true Roman citizen." These words created deep anger in Maximinus. He swore to become Rome's most powerful man. "One day I will bring everyone to their knees," he would tell himself. In his youth, he joined the army. He caught everyone's attention with his physical strength. He was 8 feet tall with a massive build. He could kill enemies with his bare hands. But his real talent was ruthlessness. In wars, he did horrific things to prisoners. He would dismember them alive and throw their flesh to dogs. This savagery promoted him quickly. Because in Rome, power came through mercilessness. In 225, he married. His wife, Caecilia Paulina, came from a noble family. Maximinus had made this marriage for political reasons. A year later, their first child, Maximus, was born. When Maximinus saw his son, he was very happy. "Now I have a true Roman dynasty," he said. Their second child, Maxima, was born in 228. He loved his daughter very much too. He would call her most beautiful princess. In the first years, he seemed like a perfect father. He would play games with his children, tell them stories. He would even take leave from military duties to stay with them. But in 235, everything changed. When Emperor Alexander Severus was killed, the armies proclaimed Maximinus as emperor. This moment was the realization of his dreams. Now he was Rome's most powerful man. But power changed him. The first change was in his attitude toward his children. Now he began to see them as heirs to Rome. "You will become more powerful than me in the future," he would tell them. But at the same time, he feared them. "What if they betray me when they grow up?" he would think. After becoming emperor, Maximinus developed paranoid tendencies. He began to suspect everyone. He saw even his closest friends as potential enemies. "There's no one loyal to me in this palace," he would tell his wife. "They're all waiting for opportunities." Celia tried to calm him. "You have your children. They will always remain loyal to you." But these words made Maximinus even more anxious. "What if they too want to overthrow me when they grow up?" he thought. This thought drove him to obsession. He began constantly monitoring his children, who they talked to, what they learned, who they spent time with. He started giving 10-year-old Maximus military training, but this training was much harsher than normal. "If you want to be strong, you must learn to endure pain," he would say. He would beat the child, starve him, leave him in the cold. "This will make you strong," he would explain. Maximus was afraid of his father's treatment, but he couldn't speak up. Because Maximinus tolerated no disobedience, 8-year-old Maxima also got her share from her father. He tried to teach her to be a strong princess too, but his method was creating fear. "If you are weak, our enemies will use you," he would tell his daughter. "That's why you must suspect everyone, see everyone as a potential threat." This approach alienated the children from their father. Now they were afraid to approach him. When Caecilia saw this situation, she became worried. Maximinus, you're scaring the children. If you continue like this, you'll lose them. These words made Maximinus very angry. I'm not losing them. I'm making them strong. You don't understand. But deep down, he knew Cecilia was right. The children were really distancing themselves from him. This situation increased his paranoia even more. If my own children don't love me, who will? He began to think. In 237, a major political crisis occurred in Rome. Senate members started a revolt against Maximinus because they were tired of his ruthless rule. When news of this revolt reached Maximinus, he went completely insane. Who could betray me? He shouted. I gave them power, gave them wealth. Now are they turning against me? His first suspicion turned to his own family. Who could help with this, he thought. The people closest to me. He interrogated his wife Cecilia. Do you know anything about this revolt? Cecilia was shocked. No. I'm your wife. Why are you thinking like this? But Maximinus didn't listen to her. Everyone lies to me, maybe you too. This suspicion also turned to the children. Maximinus interrogated 10-year-old Maximus. Who talks to you in the palace? What do they tell you? The child answered in fear. No one, father. I only talk to my teachers. Your teachers? Maximinus's eyes flashed. What do they teach you? Latin, mathematics, history. Maximus's voice was trembling. History? Maximinus stood up. What kind of history? How emperors were killed? This question frightened Maximus greatly. No, father, just old stories. But Maximinus had become suspicious. These teachers are poisoning my children's minds, he thought. They're inciting them against me. He immediately dismissed the teachers and took over the children's education himself. But his education was very different. He constantly instilled distrust in the children. Trust no one, he would say. Everyone can be your enemy. During this process, the children became even more frightened and withdrawn. At the beginning of 238, the revolt grew. Now, not just the Senate, but the people were also against Maximinus. Uprisings had started in the streets of Rome. This news drove Maximinus completely insane. Everyone is betraying me, he would shout. But why? I made them strong. At this point, a horrific suspicion occurred to him. What if my children are also involved in this revolt? This thought drove him mad. He began interrogating his children separately. The questions became increasingly aggressive. Maximus, tell the truth. Did someone in the palace say something against me to you? The child answered, crying, No, father. No one said anything. You're lying. Maximinus slapped the child. I heard from reliable sources you and your sister have been talking against me. This accusation was completely fabricated. But Maximinus could no longer distinguish reality from fantasy. He confronted Maxima with the same accusations. You're involved in this too, aren't you? Despite your young age, you're collaborating with my enemies. The 8-year-old girl couldn't understand her father's words. She could only cry. These interrogations continued for days. The children now became afraid to see their father. Cecilia couldn't stand this situation. Maximinus, stop! These are just children. They love you. Why are you torturing them? This intervention made Maximinus even angrier. You're doing the same thing with them, aren't you? You're all against me. In February 238, bad news continued to come from Rome. The revolt had grown. The Senate had even found new imperial candidates. Maximinus held a meeting with his commanders to find a solution. How will we stop this revolt? He asked. One of the commanders spoke courageously. Majesty, perhaps you should return to Rome and talk to the people. You could try to convince them. This suggestion drove Maximinus mad. Convince? I am the Roman emperor. They should convince me. Another commander suggested, then let's send a strong message. Let's execute one of our enemies in front of the people. This idea pleased Maximinus. Yes, a strong message, but with whom shall we send the message? When the answer to this question came, everyone was shocked. The strongest message, said Maximinus slowly, comes from sacrificing the most valuable thing. The commanders couldn't understand what these words meant. Maximinus continued, If I sacrifice my most beloved thing, my people will understand how determined I am. What is your most beloved thing, Majesty? Asked a commander. Maximinus's answer was the horrifying thing that froze everyone. My children. After these words, there was deathly silence in the hall. "Majesty," a commander spoke courageously, "isn't this too extreme?" Maximinus looked at him angrily. "Extreme? I am the Roman emperor. I will do anything to preserve my throne." And he revealed his horrific plan. "We will organize a great feast. We will invite our most important friends, and at that feast, we will serve my children." This plan was so shocking that the commanders didn't know what to say. "Thus," said Maximinus, "everyone will understand how determined I am. I can even sacrifice my own children." After Maximinus's horrific decision, the palace staff were in horror, but no one dared oppose him. Preparations for the feast began. Rome's most important senators, commanders, and wealthy people were invited. The invitation said there would be a special celebration. Maximinus called the palace's head chef, Marcus. "This feast will be very special. A feast no one will ever forget." Marcus had noticed the emperor was acting strangely. "Majesty, what kind of menu do you want?" Maximinus's answer surprised Marcus. "The menu is a secret for now. But when the time comes for me to tell you, you'll be very surprised." This uncertainty worried everyone in the palace. Meanwhile, Cecilia was trying to learn about her husband's plan. Maximinus's strange behavior frightened her. "Maximinus, you're not telling me anything about this feast. Why are you being so mysterious?" Maximinus looked coldly at his wife. "Are you questioning me like the others? Maybe you're also with the rebels." This accusation hurt Cecilia. "I'm your wife. How can you think like this?" "I trust no one anymore," said Maximinus. "No one." As the feast day approached, Maximinus began acting more affectionately toward his children. This change surprised the children. "Maximus, my son," he said one day, "do you know that you are my most precious treasure?" The child was surprised by his father's gentleness. "Yes, father." "And you, Maxima," he turned to his daughter, "you are my little princess." These words had made the children happy. Maybe their father was returning to his old self, but the reality was much more horrific. On a cold evening in March 238, Rome's most prestigious guests came to the palace. Everyone was curious to learn what this special celebration was about. The feast hall was prepared more magnificently than ever. Golden plates, silver cups, and the most expensive decorations. When the guests took their places, Maximinus took the stage. He had a strange smile on his face. "My dear friends," said Maximinus, "tonight you will experience the most unforgettable feast in history." The guests applauded, but some noticed the strangeness in Maximinus's tone. "The purpose of this feast," he continued, "is to show you how devoted I am to the Roman Empire." The first courses began to be served. They were normal foods, vegetable soup, fish, meat. But the real shock would come with the main course. During the meal breaks, Maximinus stood up. "Friends, now I want to give you a special message." The hall fell silent. "I am the Roman emperor," said Maximinus, "and for this throne I am ready to sacrifice everything. Everything." After these words, something horrific happened. The hall doors opened and waiters entered. They carried large silver trays in their hands. When the guests saw what was on these trays, they were horrified. On the trays were small human bodies, cooked, decorated, and recognizable. These were Maximus and Maxima. At first sight, most guests couldn't understand what they saw, but slowly the horrific truth emerged. "Are these but children?" whispered a senator. Maximinus answered with great pride, "Yes, these are my children, Maximus and Maxima." These words shocked everyone in the hall. Some felt like vomiting, some tried to stand up, but Maximinus stopped them. "Stop! Sit down! The feast isn't over yet." The guests were frozen with fear. None of them knew what to do. Maximinus continued, "Tonight I'm showing you what real power is. For my throne, I can sacrifice even my most precious things." An old senator gathered courage and spoke, "Majesty, this is too horrific. How could your own children?" Maximinus looked at him angrily. "Horrific? This is power. I am the Roman emperor. Nothing can stop me." And he added something even more frightening. "And now, all of you will eat from this meal." The guests who heard this command panicked completely. "No," shouted one person, "we can't do this." But Maximinus signaled his guards. Armed soldiers surrounded the hall. "Whoever doesn't eat," said Maximinus in a cold voice, "will also be added to the menu." Faced with this threat, the guests were helpless. The first person to eat was a young commander. With trembling hands, he took a small piece. When he put it in his mouth, his stomach turned, but he had to swallow. Other guests were also forced to eat one by one, each crying, trembling, feeling like vomiting. Maximinus took pleasure watching this scene. "This is real power," he thought. During the feast, Caecilia was looking for her children. When she couldn't find them in their rooms, she panicked. She asked the servants, "Have you seen my children? Where are they?" The servants looked at each other in fear. None dared tell the truth. Caecilia headed toward the feast hall. Maybe the children were there. As she approached the hall door, she heard strange sounds from inside, crying sounds, vomiting sounds. When she cracked the door open, the scene she saw completely destroyed her. Her husband was making guests eat their children. At first, she thought this was a nightmare, but it was real. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She was shocked, frozen. Maximinus saw his wife at the door. "Caecilia, come, join us too." The children turned out very delicious. These words brought Caecilia to her senses. She let out a great scream. "Monster! How could you kill your own children?" Maximinus was annoyed by his wife's reaction. They were sacrificed for a strong purpose. "You don't understand. Caecilia attacked her husband like a madwoman. You are a sick monster. How did I trust you?" But the guards stopped her and removed her from the hall. The morning after that night, most of the guests at the feast had gone mad. Some committed suicide. Some completely lost themselves. When this news reached Rome, the uprising grew even bigger. Now everyone understood that Maximinus had completely lost his mind. When news of the feast reached Rome, the city rose up completely. "This man is not human," the people shouted. "He's a monster." The Senate held an emergency meeting and declared Maximinus an enemy of the people. A bounty was placed on his head. This decision brought Maximinus's end, because now even his own armies were ready to betray him. His commanders came together and made plans. "This man is now dangerous. We must stop him." In May 238, during the siege of Aquileia, Maximinus's own soldiers betrayed him. While he was sleeping in his tent, his commanders killed him. But even his death wasn't normal. The soldiers who killed him dismembered his body. "A man who ate his own children should meet the same end," they said. They threw his body to the dogs. They held no funeral ceremony. They tried to erase his name from history books. But the story doesn't end here. After Maximinus was killed, Caecilia remained in the palace in a mad state. She could never accept that her children had been killed. Every night she would go to her children's rooms. "Maxima, where are you?" she would call. The servants pitied her greatly, but they couldn't remind her of the truth, because every time she was reminded, she became more insane. One day, she went to the kitchen and asked the cooks, "Prepare food for my children. They must be very hungry." The cooks didn't know what to say. "Madam, the children, they are no longer..." But Caecilia didn't listen to them. "They're just hiding. They're afraid of their father. But I will find them." This search continued for months. Caecilia lived with the fantasy of her children. Finally, reality caught up with her. One day she began cutting her own hands and drinking the blood. "I want to be like my children," she said. After this incident, doctors tried to help her, but it was too late. Caecilia had completely lost her mental health. In 239, she died by harming herself. Her last words were, "Finally, I will reunite with my children." This horrific story of Maximinus appears very little in Rome's official historical records, because this event was so shocking that historians didn't dare record its details. But some secret records confirm the reality of this event. In historian Herodian's secret notes, these lines exist. "Maximinus exceeded the limits of human nature. What happened that night was one of the darkest moments in human history." Also, diaries of some guests who attended the feast have been found. These diaries tell the horrific details of that night. In Senator Lucius's diary, "Until I die, I will never forget what I saw that night." How can a father kill his own children? This is humanity's greatest sin. In Commander Gaius's notes, Maximinus was no longer human. He had become the devil himself. These records prove the reality of the event. Maximinus's story shows the extreme point of power obsession. Today, too, there are leaders experiencing similar psychology. Dictators sacrifice their families to preserve their power. In North Korea, China, Africa, these examples still happen. Also, similar violence is seen in modern families. Fathers abuse their own children, harm them. Maximinus's psychology is a mixture of narcissistic personality disorder and paranoid psychosis. Modern psychiatry can explain this condition. Modern child protection services try to detect such cases, but unfortunately, situations where it's too late still occur. Maximinus's story teaches us very important lessons. First, power can turn humans into monsters. Unlimited power means unlimited madness. Second, paranoia can destroy the closest relationships. Distrust kills love. Third, children should never be political tools. Protecting them comes before everything. Fourth, society must stop such leaders. Remaining silent means being an accomplice. You listen to this horrific story to the end. This shows the importance you give to family values. Maximinus's story shows the darkest betrayal in father-child relationships. But it also teaches us that we must be vigilant against such monsters. If you were affected by this story, hit the like button. Because I want to know that such historical warnings are important. Tell me in the comments, what is your limit for what you would do for your children? What do you think about what Maximinus did? Do you see similar examples today? Don't forget to subscribe, because with this trilogy, we have discovered the deepest secrets of dark history. Which country are you watching from? Write in the comments. I'm curious. And remember, no power is more valuable than family love. Protect your children. Hold them above everything. We end this quartet here. I hope you have learned lessons from these stories. See you soon, and hug your children tightly.